morning, George.
Good morning, Darcy.
So we have George Woodhouse of George Woodhouse and the Public Service.
That's right. It's a mouthful, but that's our band.
And I do like the name despite it being a handful. Is it all the members are actually public service workers? Like it's
You know what? It's only myself and our bass player that actually are public servants.
Okay.
The others in the band are kind of contractors sometimes.
Sure.
But I've ever since I started working for Parks Canada, I started to consider the idea of a public service, and I thought, that sounds like something musical. It could be a musical offering as well. So I just went with it, and the screening process for this public service was not very rigorous. So.
It does just flow out there's quite a Andre Petitpon the Giants.
Yeah.
Like that's not a short name either.
It's a great name too. Like you're right. Yeah, I do. They all just kind of names.
They all kind of flow. And actually, Alex McNeil used to go by Alexander and the Great Ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I remember that. You almost kind of remember the long ones too.
Yeah.
For their own longness.
They stick around. You remember the name, and then they had the band name and Matt Steele and the Corvette Sunset.
Yeah, I remember that one because it rhymed.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of them around. Yeah. So this weekend when you're performing, you must have the full band with you floating around here somewhere.
The full band, we're stoked.
Is there any? Is that tonight's performance?
No, Saturday night. 9:30 at the Old Triangle.
Awesome. Yeah. So me sipping on a coffee here because I'm tired isn't worrying you. I have plenty of time to rest up before you play.
Yeah, and you're gonna want to rest up, Darcy, because we are putting on the showcase of our lives.
That's exciting. I am excited to go see it. I know that we have a secret silent person in the room here.
Hey, Krista.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a big fan of yours. So I even if I hadn't have picked up on you out there a little bit on my own, I definitely would have been fully aware who you were from her, and where your connections in with the Town Heroes as well, which I seem to be able to get a reference to those guys into like every other episode somehow.
Yeah, they are the veterans of Nova Scotia Music Week.
Yes,
and there's some of my favorite human connections in the music world pass through.
Yeah, they're
Mike and Kristen and
great
Bruce.
individuals. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so you're from Cape Breton originally?
I'm not.
You're not?
No, I grew up in Owen Sound, Ontario.
That doesn't sound like a place. I know it's a place.
It doesn't sound like a place. So you were making a joke, and then I was going to make a joke thinking you weren't making a joke. Yeah, no, it's a small town for Ontario standards.
Yeah.
About 3 hours northwest of Toronto. I grew up on Georgian Bay, so the ocean felt kind of like home.
Yes.
The Great Lakes have that vast expanse. You can't see the horizon in most cases, so the only difference being the sweet water instead of the salty water.
Yes, for sure. So,
and whales.
What age would you have moved down here?
When I was 19, I just never been east of Quebec City and just thought I'd give Nova Scotia a try.
It was just purely out of adventure that you wanted to see new things?
I was accepted to Dal as a university for a general arts degree, so I just took it and ran with it.
We should go out in the hall after this and take a poll. I'm betting every other musician, if not more frequently than that, it's people that took arts or music programs in university and then said, I'm going to make a career out of this, and they stuck around Nova Scotia somewhere. It seems to be that we're pulling in a lot of artistic people from the other provinces too, and we kept you around.
Yes.
So I
tried going back once and came crawling back.
And what was the pull to keep you here versus I don't need to know why you wouldn't stay somewhere else. I'm sure people in Ontario don't want to hear why George isn't there, but
well, I had a girlfriend at the time that I moved back, and but the love was deep, and to be a non-student in Halifax, it was something I wanted to try.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been doing that now been doing the non-student thing for about 8 years.
Well, it's working apparently.
Yeah, it's fun.
What point did you get into performing? Because were you doing it before you moved here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in a punk band in high school.
Awesome.
We were called Staggers and Jags,
I like that name.
which I didn't realize it was a reference in a Stan Rogers song until after I moved out here. So
Yes.
then I felt like I had this connection
Yeah.
prior to moving to the East Coast. Like my band name was Staggers and Jags in high school, and we played just kind of fast punk rock. I never wrote words down. I just made them up on the stage, and that was my introduction into performing live, and I loved it.
I'm getting a little kick out of hearing some of the background on a few artists that are playing like acoustic songs and more like folk songs. They're not traditional. They're more alt rock folky songs. But it seems like a good percentage of you too are into some of the punk and heavy metal, and it's not apparent.
Yeah. But the influence is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what else is cool is after Staggers and Jags, I struck up a band with people I met in orientation week at Dow.
Yeah.
And that was a Disney cover band.
Oh, wow.
That was well received by my peers. Like people love Disney songs. So
Oh, yeah.
we
They
were
would,
playing
yeah.
that in the Greywood campus pub, and
Now
so
I
the
kind of
journey
wish
is-
I was
yeah.
there for that. That doesn't sound like something somebody else is going to do. That's unique.
Yeah, well, it's I still can whip out some Lion King if I need to. Yeah.
Maybe when you're doing your showcase, just throw a little bit in there.
It's kind of like it's an after hours thing.
You can throw a little bit at the end of the set and give a dedication to Krista. Super love it. So you're 19 in Nova Scotia. You were back and forth at one point. What point did you start George Woodhouse in the public service? Is that more just with the recent album?
After I graduated from Teachers College,
Okay.
my Bachelor of Education, so I am qualified to be a teacher.
Oh, there you
But
go.
I never spent any time in classrooms beyond my practicums. Because I did get a job with Parks Canada, and I still work with Parks Canada to this day. But when I started working with Parks in 2016 full time, that's when I realized I'm a part of this very big machine called the public service, and philosophically the idea of a public service, you know, that Joe Howe quote in downtown Dartmouth, like what is for the public good. Like I love it, and I just also couldn't figure out why it had to be this thing that was also attached to so hard to get a job at, like kind of cushy benefits and, you know, the public service. I'm like, man, we need to reclaim this. So all the while that I was, you know, had this identity as a public servant, and working for Parks Canada is just, it's amazing people. It attracts a lot of dreamers. But outside of work, I was like, I still want to be, I want to serve the public. And I wrote songs, and I'm like, maybe it could be as simple as just serving these songs to the public and trying to create as little barriers as possible. Yeah.
And you've been out performing quite a bit as well?
Yeah, I did in 2018. I needed to feel like I was taking myself more seriously as a songwriter, because I knew it was a passion of mine, but I found myself not having energy at the end of the day to actually write the songs. And so for my 28th birthday, I committed to myself, as a gift to myself, to write one song a week for 1 year. And that project was called the Diamond Sushi Songs. And I did that every week, and no matter how good or not good the song was, I shared it just like we're doing right now on social media, put it out there, recorded through a cell phone, and then in 1 year I had a catalog of 47 new songs. So
Wow.
I know there's 52 weeks in a year, but I was a little behind by the end.
You're allowed to get sick 1 or 2 weeks and maybe have 1 or 2 rest weeks.
Yeah.
That still leaves one extra week, though. Maybe you did drop the ball.
I did.
4 would have been okay. So 5's a little too short.
It's okay, Darcy. I knew that we wouldn't be interviewing for many years after.
Yeah, exactly. So what is, like, this album, it was out this year, but what month was it out?
It was out May 27th, 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had an amazing release, a release show at the Micmac Amateur Aquatic Club in Dartmouth. Our whole band lives within, 4 or 5 blocks of each other. So
Oh, okay.
it
That's
turns
fun.
into a block party for our friends and our neighbors, and it feels like a wedding, but no one's getting married. It's that kind of show.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so lovely, right on the lake there, and yeah, it also felt like bringing a new life into the world. It's
Oh, yeah.
releasing an album, something I've always wanted to do, a full length album. Yeah.
And you've had a couple singles off of it already,
Mm-hmm.
but you just recently had something on social media. You have a new video coming out too? Or
No,
not soon?
Nothing brewing at the moment.
Mhm.
We've got videos for 2 singles though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lost Soul Rodeo and Home in Me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are both in my car. I think they're both on the official Music Week playlist too.
Are they?
Well, at least one of them is, but I think they might both be. I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna go check it out. It's so great that they made that playlist.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you want to see every single act at Music Week.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The playlist makes it possible to at least hear.
We had some playlists going as like a companion for regular episodes,
Yeah.
but when I ramped up interviews going into Music Week, that kind of fell by the wayside. But actually, I can give credit to Krista for that as well. She's counting how many times I mention her name. That's how many times she has to get me back today. So yeah, she's like, you do know they have their own. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm like, yeah, I should probably just listen to that. So there you go, Music Nova Scotia. I will listen to your playlist. I actually keep track of. They have one that runs all year as well.
Yeah.
That they update on the Fridays with new music and everything.
Yeah,
So
Music Fridays.
that's an awesome one. Especially, I'm sure most of the musicians that would be watching this probably are all aware because we're all at a Music Nova Scotia event.
Yeah.
But anyone that's watching that's not a member of Music Nova Scotia, there's a playlist that you can access. It's available to everyone for that exact purpose, to discover new artists. I mean, I do have a show to do that as well, but I can't keep up with nearly the amount of volume that's coming out, especially now.
But this is long form, deep dive,
Yes.
intimate
Yes,
conversation.
exactly.
That's, Music Nova Scotia doesn't do that.
Yes,
So,
there you go.
There you go, Darcy.
It's not just the surface level. I have to get right in there.
Yeah, you're getting deep into my roots.
Yes. So what is next then? I'll just going to tell you right out. I asked this question to 75% of the people I interviewed the last couple of weeks, and over half of them are working on new material in the winter, releasing it in the spring, and touring next summer.
Yeah.
So are you doing that?
Some version of that. Now that the album's out,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like everyone's album came out.
Yeah.
And while you could see that as competition, I mean, I really felt like it was being part of a wave of expression that was so pent up. And
Sure.
At this point, we never had a full proper tour, so we're going to just keep chipping away, playing shows. We have a show on December 2nd at the Marquee with the Town Heroes and Daniel James McFadden.
Daniel was in the pit last night. That was another person I was thinking of that I'm surprised that you guys are doing like alt rock folk songs.
Yeah.
And then I really want to go smash into that guy and thrash my arms around.
Yeah.
I do both. I enjoy both,
Yeah.
but I'm not used to the people delivering it. I guess I never sit and ask you if you like that stuff. So.
Well, yeah, we have our look, we have our
Yep.
performer kind of persona, and if you don't attach whatever heavy metal or punk rock to that, then why would you think it?
Yeah.
I think we all have that. We all had those ugly duckling years of our lives where we were listening to music that our parents hated, and
Yes.
and for me, it's still very alive. Like anytime I hear or anything come on, the pop punk too.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Blink-182 and
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and there's definitely I'm probably, if I'm thinking about it, most of us are probably in the same age demographic too, so we probably all grew up with it being mainstream at one point.
On much music.
It's in the back of your mind that you know those songs.
Yeah.
Everyone but Krista, she doesn't like the heavy stuff at all.
No, I don't like heavy stuff.
There you go. So don't play any of it for her.
Don't
But
worry.
I would love to hear You and Daniel try to do your own little heavy song off to the side.
We could co-write
You could.
a nice little punk
Just do
ballad.
like a one-off single.
Yeah, it's just really off-brand.
And don't even come up with a band name. Just
Yeah.
use your 2 solo names so
Yeah.
everyone knows exactly who it is.
Yes.
And then when they listen to it, it's not at all what they're expecting.
Don't hide.
And no follow-up.
Yeah.
And I won't interview you about it. We'll just leave it a complete mystery.
I think we'd love to be interviewed about it.
Yes, that would be an awesome interview. So, what time did you say your showcase was?
9:30 p.m. on Saturday.
9:30
at the
on
Old
PM.
Triangle.
And who's playing around you? Do you know?
I know Caribou Run is closing off the night.
Okay.
Excited for that. I have my poster, and I listed the whole set.
Oh,
on
yeah.
the poster.
I have them all right here. I keep forgetting, so I'm leaning on everyone else. I think you get someone over there checking for us too. Though this is the hardest thing for this. John Hines?
Yeah. Mary Beth Hardy, Rose Morrison.
Yeah, there's some good names.
Court in Wichita. Caribou Run is the last.
There you go. So, and that one good thing for Saturday too, that I was just going to say, it's hard to keep up because everybody's playing at the same time. And
Yes.
most of the stuff you really can walk to, and if you really want, I did leave one set to catch another set.
Yeah.
And went on foot,
Yeah.
and I made it in time. And
Daniels
it's
to
fine.
Old Triangle took about 23 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's really set up like a festival. I
Oh, yeah.
wasn't expecting that, but
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing about a place like Sydney is it's almost like the city planners designed it for music.
Yeah, it's like a small little stretch with a little bit of a loop, and I guess New Glasgow's kind of like that in a way too for downtown. But there's all the venues here and the hotels here.
Yeah.
It's like a conference center.
Yeah.
With a town built around it.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. What about this evening then? Who would you go see?
Oh,
I'm
man.
just curious.
I have to consult my app.
Yeah.
I think is Elise Aaron playing tonight? I'm planning to go see her when she does, and I'm in conference mode right now.
Yeah, I
actually,
know.
Just because I don't start thinking about the music till later on, but I'm really looking forward to just learning more, getting perspective about the industry.
Yeah.
That, especially for the last couple of years, to be able to do that in person is so much richer for me. To hear it from people who have been working through this really hard time and who kind of have perspective on where things are going.
Yep.
So yeah, at 10 o'clock there's the export ready kind of, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what it really means. Like,
There
am I
is-
export ready? Am I approved by the Food and Drug Association?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good informative sessions, and they're not, for the ones that I've been around anyway, they don't seem, they're very entry level for most people. So if you're like, oh, what does that mean? Like you can get in there, but then it's such a good networking opportunity as well, because you can tell who's thinking the same thing and you're already on a like-minded topic.
Yeah.
And so that you have an instant connection. You don't need an icebreaker. You just walk over and start talking to them about your thing. And
So true.
most of us have name tags floating around our neck too, so you don't even have to do some of the incidental, like who you are stuff.
I wish
so.
we always wore name tags all the time.
Yeah, it would almost be convenient just to have like a little. That's what we'll do. QR codes with bios.
Oh God.
QR codes that link you to an episode of my podcast. I'll make you up a little sticker with a QR code just to this interview.
You know what I'll do? I'll one up you, Darcy. I will include you as a branch on my link tree that my QR code is currently linking to on my very new business card.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
so
it. That's awesome.
East Coast DNA is going to be right there.
There you go.
Yeah, don't worry. Just send me the link and I'll add it to my tree.
I like it. That's awesome.
Yeah, just another branch on the family tree.
So you're gonna release a punk album, and you're going to.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
But I would love to co-write a punk song with Dan.
But there you go. You heard it, Daniel. We'll make this happen. I'm wondering if there's anyone listening to this in the hotel right now. I was like, is that true? Like, I have gear here. We could do it this weekend. Like, I have a song kind of half written. Maybe I'll hand it to them.
Most punk songs are between 2 and 3 minutes.
Yeah, you can
so
do
it
it.
wouldn't take that long.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Yeah. I've already got a few half-baked ones.
Yes. So what other genres have you played then? Because I only know the new album is what I really know.
Yeah. Well, I think of it more from an influence standpoint,
Sure,
as opposed to trying to categorize, what we're trying to do. The influences for me over the last 10 years, I mean, I'm just thankful to bands like Hey Rosetta, to Dan Mangan, songwriters that are really, I think, going inward and then bringing that out in their songs. And I think we've seen a lot of that in the last 10 years. But to do it, for me, it's been validation to allow it to be therapy in a way. Songwriting is always for me first, for myself, and then I hope to be able to share it with people, knowing that if you can tap into a truth in there, like some of these other great artists have done, that's what resonates with the world. And but yeah, we just call it indie folk. I don't really know what that means, but it's kind of has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
And you know what it means when you say it because you're associating it with a sound, I guess.
Yeah.
And lyrically, I know with your music, actually, there's a little bit of a different drive behind it. Like, you get that foot stomping kind of beat behind it, but the guitar and stuff that's layered over top of it isn't the traditional folk that we would have in the East Coast.
Cool.
Like on top, I could still hear that rhythm.
Yeah.
That's tied back outside of Nova Scotia, like into like Ireland and Scotland and all that traditional music. But there's a different layer on top of yours. It's like a different icing on the cake, I guess.
Well, thank you for noticing. What I think that is just for so long I didn't have the privilege of playing with a band.
Okay.
And so as a rhythm guitar player, you become your own percussion too.
Yep.
And so do da da boo ba do ba 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 do is kind of, it comes through in what could just be a do 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 do.
Yep.
And I also, part of that ugly duckling phase, like I listen to a lot of rap.
Okay.
And a lot of hip hop, and I still love that lyrical expression almost more than anything. It's what comes most naturally. So sometimes it fuses with the folk, and I think you'll see some of that on Saturday night.
Now that you're saying it, I can kind of, the way that the syllables kind of play off each other, like the timing and the way that, because you're not singing words the way people talk. Most people don't, but you put the inflection in different places and just to follow the rhythm.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see where the lyrically that would come from that kind of a flow as an influence anyway.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So now we need a punk album and a rap single. So
the rap single might happen sooner than the punk.
The rap one could happen today. We have people hanging around here that are DJs. We get Mackie's got her mobile studio set up.
No way.
And Chris Ritchie has all of his DJ gear. He was just last night. He was spinning for her and did his own set.
So cool.
So they have recording gear here too. There's a studio somewhere set up in one of these rooms. So yeah, we're doing it. We're gonna have a rap song by the end of the day. That's what we've decided.
I took the bus. My bus ride into school as a kid was an hour long because we lived outside of Owen Sound. And
oh yes.
By the time I was 14, 15, we started having rap battles, but there was no one to battle. It was just it's like, George, do a rap battle. I'm like, not battling anyone here, but I would just freestyle, and
that's fun.
And it was so fun and like playful, and
so you don't have to say what year.
Yeah.
But were you listening to it on a Discman or a Walkman?
I was Discman generation.
All right. Yeah. So, and I just jumped past digital. I didn't even ask you about digital. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I definitely myself, just in parallel to that, going like walks to school and stuff. It would have been a cassette.
Yeah.
And I was taking stuff off my old man for my walks, and it would have been like, at first there might be like a ZZ Top or like an Aerosmith or something in there, but when I was hitting junior high school, I had a longer trek and trying to find my own musical taste.
Yes.
All of a sudden, instead of seeing a Black Sabbath EP sitting there. He has a cassette from Nirvana, and then he had Metallica, and then Guns N' Roses. But I actually get introduced because there was a little wide range there. He would have had the 70s folky stuff as well, and then the inspiration for what we call metal today really was in that collection.
Yeah.
But he also had Run DMC Raising Hell.
Amazing.
So that, I'm sure, and I don't know if I ever talked to my dad about it, but I think that was probably because of the Aerosmith connection for Walk This Way.
Walk This Way.
So that's an awesome way that they were able to permeate pop culture and saying that, like, well, here's a rock band that everyone likes and we're going to do it. But that, in turn, influenced me to be into rap music because when I was the same age that you would have been doing that, like, I was listening to Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and a lot of people were, but not in my circle.
Yeah.
It was just, I was aware of it because I get influenced early by a different sound from a different artist. They get pulled in from somebody that was influencing me because of a completely different reason. So it's always interesting to hear all the influences for someone like yourself where you're expressing it in your art. Mm-hmm. Like, mine might be coming out in the fact that I want to promote everybody. So
it's so great, so important.
We used to have a game on road trips where not real official game, but just when we're driving, every time a song comes on, who's that? Who's that? Every time. That obviously did something to me as a child. Yeah. That here as an adult, I'm sitting in Sydney going, who's that? Who's that? And then asking them to come in and tell me who they are.
Right.
So
who's that? Like, who's that face or who's that song?
Well, at the time he would have been who's that song.
Okay.
But I've adapted into who's that face while I'm walking
who's
around
that
now.
Face with that song?
Yes, exactly. Who's that face, and did they make a song, and then do I know the song? And if I don't know it, how can I hear it so I can know it in the future?
Love it. It's such a what feels like a game maybe for you is just one of the greatest supports that regionally we have here.
Yeah,
thank you for asking the question and playing. Who's that game?
If anything, I would like to have more people involved on this end so we could do a higher volume. Mm-hmm. It was the last month and a half with all the Music Nova Scotia related interviews I did. There's been so many people coming out that I'm starting to feel bad now that we're East Coast DNA, and I covered about 30 Nova Scotia musicians. There's
Music Week.
There's New Brunswick and PEI and everything else, but apparently we've been pulling in a lot of good talent because you're not the first person that migrated here from Ontario. A couple Vancouver people, I think, have been on the last few weeks too, and we seem to be holding on to people for a reason. So I don't know if there's a challenge for anyone from the other regions that are listening is write us an email or on the Instagram account. We definitely have some Newfoundland followers. I know that. Yeah. And there's a couple of New Brunswick bands that we chat with back and forth, but it's really interesting time because I think coming out of COVID, and you would have had your album coming out at the same time, where things started to open back up. Mm-hmm. You were putting finishing touches on your album. We were starting this podcast up because we wanted to kind of talk about things reemerging as things were starting to loosen for restrictions. And my brother and I talked about this in an earlier episode. It was a couple months in that we started noticing, like, oh, we can't keep up. Yeah. And we were talking briefly before we start recording there, like different East Coast charts and stuff. Yeah. Like, I was following that stuff a little bit on the side, but then when we start doing the podcast, I start getting into a regular routine of it. And I noticed that 2-3 months into the podcast, I was very much, if I didn't mirror what somebody else was doing, they were mirroring what I was doing because we were all covering the same content in the same region. Uh-huh. But by the time like May, June hit, it was just full tilt. Oh, yeah. There's new artists. There's people doing follow-ups of stuff they released as soon as COVID hit. There's people that have been hunkered down the whole time we had restrictions, and they have the best material of their life that they can't wait to put out, and everyone's tour hungry. I do hope we don't get into that pattern. Like I said, so many people are lock down for the winter to record,
Yeah.
release in the spring and tour in the summer, because we'll just end up the same pattern of overlapping.
But if there's an opportunity to perform, for example, we're kind of excited. The World Juniors are coming to Halifax.
Yes.
There's a musical component to that, and that's going to be a gig opportunity for lots of bands from the area.
I was excited when I heard about it. I don't follow sports, and I realize most people do. So I was in a conversation with family, and they mentioned stuff about the hockey. I'm like, I don't know what anyone's talking about. Do you know anything about who's playing? They're like, what teams? I'm like, no, like, I'm pretty sure the last time there was like a stage with a bunch of bands playing. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. What bands are playing at the hockey thing? So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see those opportunities, and it's going to pull in a ton of people. Yeah. To get all of those bands in front of those people, because as much as I'm not a sports guy, I don't know a sports guy that's not a fan of music.
Exactly.
Like they all like music.
Music is the umbrella love.
Yes, it's the universal language.
Yeah, and you don't need to know a thing about hockey to have an incredible connection with an across Canada international audience that's coming to Halifax to appreciate a sport. Like it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be great.
It will be.
Yeah.
And what is on your schedule for today? I think you were going to take off to a session there soon, so I can see the time. I don't know that you can.
I can't, but I'm enjoying this conversation.
Yes.
I'm really thankful for the Artist Lounge at the Altuic Arts Center.
Yes.
At noon today, there's a support group for anyone that wants to get together with people who might be experiencing ADHD and anxiety.
Yeah, I might head over to that session.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of us could.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to go and check it out. And then this afternoon, I have just that 5-minute date kind of round table with regional bookers. And
awesome.
I'm looking forward to just meeting people, giving them my business card.
Yes.
And, we hope to plant some seeds that maybe could grow into a show or a festival next year, because we just love doing this, and we'd like to broaden our horizons a little bit beyond Dartmouth, but we'll always come back there. And
I'm expecting that after that December 2nd show, there's going to be a ton. Like, it's not just you guys. We've talked about it on the podcast here too, that the Seahorse has a show at the same time that the Marquee show's going on.
Oh, the December 2nd?
Yeah, so on December 2nd, it's like we just said, the Town Heroes, Dan James McFadden, and yourself. And downstairs is Vormir. There's some stickers and stuff over there. The singer's coming here to help co-host later today with some of these.
Nice.
And they have an album release going on downstairs, but they're bringing in like 3 or 4 acts to play with. 1,000 Knives. There's a heavy one for you.
Wow.
And Kids Losing Sleep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a few people playing down there. So that night, I think that's going to be, because there's that, and it's funny because I wasn't thinking this at the beginning of the conversation. There's that alt rock folky sound upstairs, but all 3 of your acts are upbeat. Like, I know that the crowd's going to be, like, I've been to many Town Hero shows, and they always are pretty good at getting the crowd worked up. But I caught Daniel for the first time last night, and he had the crowd doing the wave.
It was so great. I was there
too.
Yeah,
that was, I've never seen anyone get everyone doing that, especially in more of a pub format.
Yeah.
And everyone was participating.
Yeah.
So I know that between the 3 of you guys up there on stage, that crowd's going to be going nuts. But downstairs is going to be the heavy crowd that's thrashing around and all pumped up from the metal. So I think that when there's breaks and people like going between floors for washrooms and stuff, there's going to be a lot of people exposed to stuff that they like that maybe they weren't aware of. Not that any of those bands aren't known, but I can imagine there's going to be some of the people upstairs are going to be like, what's that noise downstairs? I like that sound. And there's going to be people downstairs that when they have to get away from the volume for a little bit to get their hearing back and dry the sweat up, they're like, well, what's going on over there? Those
He's
people
like,
are
"Oh,
having
they're
fun
doing
too.
the wave upstairs. Well, that's interesting. I
Yeah,
might partake."
yeah. I didn't get bruised at all doing a wave. That's that night. I don't even know for sure if I can physically be there that night, but that night I just want to hear nothing but stories from people afterwards because there's so many bands in the one building.
Under one roof. Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so
Just-
thankful for that roof. Without that roof of the Marquee, the Seahorse, the local,
Oh yeah,
I mean, yeah, just music venues, like they're punching up way above their weight right now, just with there being a shortage of places to play. And
yeah.
so thankful for that.
And I do feel a little bad for some of them because I know some of them cannot be making money. Like I don't have any idea the finances behind that. But if I go to a show and I had a really good time and I go home and realize there was 20 people there, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I hope they keep doing
Yeah.
shows. Like
Yeah.
the bands usually get paid,
Yeah.
usually, but the venues, they got to be taking a hit in some of those cases. So
Yeah.
it's also great to be at Music Week and everyone's here for one reason. So
Yeah.
when you go to one of the venues, like
Yeah.
if you go during a set, good luck finding a seat.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to go a few minutes early to get positioned if you want to sit down and really enjoy a full set
Yeah.
there. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. This is a dream coming true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think that one that you mentioned off site's around noon.
Yep. That's the Artist Lounge.
Yeah, so I think we're probably going to be set up down here in the Fleur de Lis at the Holiday Inn.
On the basement floor.
Yes, if George can find me, you can find me too.
That's right. I'm not very good with directions.
So if anybody wants to stop down and have a little chat with us, are you going to stick around for a little bit and finish your tea? Or
Oh yeah, does it tastes like apples? And I don't know what time it is, but I'll head over to the first session at 10 o'clock.
there you go.
Whenever it gets going. But this has been a real pleasure, Darcy.
Oh, I
And
appreciate you
Krista,
stopping
and
by.
Before we go, I wanted, on behalf of all artists, to thank you with our vinyl record. I
Oh,
wanted to
sweet.
Gift you with one of those. It's Songs for the Living on Vinyl.
That's very appreciated. Thank you very much.
Do you have a turntable at home?
I do, actually.
Okay. Well, awesome.
You're probably now going to be a victim of me recording a video of the record spinning and then I'm putting it up in my stories on Facebook or something.
man.
So
Yeah.
I
I
do,
love watching a record.
I do that
spin.
randomly when it's playing in the apartment and I'm alone. I'll be like, oh, I'll just do a little ding ding. That is awesome. I'm really excited for that.
Well, really thankful for everything that East Coast DNA is doing.
And now I'm going to bank off that. If anyone wants to come down and have a chat and bring me a gift, I like albums
Coffee,
and coffee,
banana bread.
banana bread. Thank you, Krista.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, I am going to wrap this up, but you can stick around for a little bit. And seriously, if anyone's floating around the hotel and wants to pop down, we'll have the door open for a little bit. But if the door's closed, just give it a little knock. All right, thanks again.
Yeah, Darcy.
I must admit, it was fun as I thought to stay home all day. Just with fun till it's not. Now I got to find a way to keep food on the table and to keep the bills paid. We put so much pressure on ourselves to work like machines.